Motoring 2012 on TSN is brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.
Bread and butter. Even without the jam, it's hard to beat. But you know, our ancestors and even today in many parts of this world, it's a main staple and sometimes a difference between life and death. Now, I know what you're saying, Brad, lighten up. This is a program about cars. I know that, but you know, we all know where our bread is buttered. It's something we depend on, and it's the same in the automotive world. See, I knew where I was going with this one. Anyway, this week we're in the beautiful state of Maine, just outside of Portland. And it's here with this gorgeous backdrop that Mercedes has chosen to introduce a new member to the C-Class, a class they consider to be the company's bread and butter. Now, this new car is a coupe. Doesn't come with 4 doors though, only comes with 2.
The C-Class sedan is our most important model by volume. It's our biggest model by a long shot, so it is critical to our success in Canada. It's a model we've more than doubled sales in the last 4 years, and now we're happy to bring a coupe into the C-Class family as well.
It's their bread and butter. The C-Class is the entry level. So for Mercedes, who wants to be number one around 2020, it means that they're going to have to be on every market.
We start with the C250 Coupe, which starts at $39,900, so a great price in the Canadian market. That features our new 1.8-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine at 201 horsepower. And then moving up to our C350, that features our new direct injection V6 engine. That's good for 302 horsepower, a 0 to 100 kilometer an hour time of 6 seconds flat. So great performance, but again, great fuel economy as well. And then on the top end, if you want to go for the ultimate, we have the C63 AMG Coupe as well, with our 451 horsepower 6.2-liter V8.
People know why they're buying a Mercedes-Benz. They're buying the name, the star, the styling, the powertrain, the drivability, and the list goes on. And with each generation, Mercedes tries to improve in all those categories, and they also try and improve on fuel economy. But my question is, do people who buy expensive cars like these, do they really care?
They do now, I would say, and this is something that's certainly changed over the last couple of years, and I think it's a combination of things, certainly oil prices, gasoline prices, but I think socially as well, I think customers are just getting a little bit more in tune with it. The term our customers use a lot is they want efficient performance, so they don't want any less performance, certainly. They still want that driving experience, but they expect it to come with better fuel economy now. Our direct injection 302 horsepower V6 is actually 13% better fuel economy than the outgoing 268 horsepower engines.
When Mercedes introduced the CLS, they call it the world's first 4-door coupe. Only the Germans could get away with that. So now we've got the C-Class. It's a coupe, but it's only 2 doors.
We wanted to bring out a genuine and a real coupe to the C-Class family. I mean, we've had models previously that sort of fit into that role, but not quite. And we wanted a real, genuine coupe offering for our C-Class customers that wanted something a little bit more dynamic, a little sportier.
Mercedes is doing very, very well. So they're obviously selling cars and nothing is slowing them down. On the other hand, they got the most confusing lineup I can remember. I mean, there's a CL, which is a coupe and is a real 2-door. They've got the C-Class Coupe that is a real 2-door. And then they have a CLS that they call a coupe but really has 4 doors. It's very confusing to me, and I'm in the business. I got to think that customers coming in and saying, well, what's that, might be a little confused as well.
Our automatic transmissions now are standard equipment on all of our cars within the C-Class family. Again, something that follows our customers' preference, that even when we had a manual transmission, we only had about 2% of our customers taking it. So it's clear that our customers prefer our 7G-tronic automatic transmission.
And now we have a small turbocharged 1.8-liter engine in the C250. I find that quite interesting. Obviously, turbocharged in 4 EcoBoost. And everybody figures that this is the way to go. It's a lot easier to slap a little engine with a small turbocharger in a car than turning it into a hybrid, and you probably get almost the same fuel mileage. Is it a good car? It's a Mercedes. It's solid, fairly sporty. It's not as sporty as a BMW, but it's a solid car with a big emblem on the front.
And honestly, with every C-Class coming for the past 3 or 4 generations, you've seen a sportier, crispier model, and we're going the same direction with what we have right now.
Mercedes-Benz, we will always be the premium product in any segment we compete in, but that doesn't mean that we don't give our customers value for their money. The C-Class, I think, is the greatest expression of that.
I think with the 1.8 turbo, they have something that'll sell well.
We've got the iPod and the iPad and the iPhone. Are you ready for the iCar? More later on Kenzie's Corner.
Hey, there you go. On this edition of Test Drive, it's a Volvo, and it's snowing. This is the S60 T6 R-Design. The R-Design takes a stock S60 T6, which is not a bad-looking car in the first place, and adds to its appeal in all areas. The body kit, which includes a more aggressive nose and a rear diffuser, lends a louder style, while the work beneath the hood ramps up the performance. The end result is a car with more purpose and certainly more substance. The interior of this R-Design has been very well thought through. To begin with, two of the very best front seats you'll find anywhere in the industry. They're not only supremely comfortable, they also deliver all of the right lateral support. The rest of the cabin, very logical, as you'd expect from the Swedes. From the climate controls to the ice blue dials, everything is clean, clear and uncluttered. There is, however, a pet peeve. On the base S60, I can forgive the lack of paddle shifters. On this R-Design, sorry, it's unforgivable. The R-Design is a seriously quick car, and it boils down to the work Polestar, a Swedish racing and performance company, did to the stock motor. Tweaking the engine management system and increasing the turbo's boost pressure bumps the 3 litres output to 325 horsepower and 354 pound-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM. This is enough to spirit the S60 to 100k in 6.1 seconds, while it accomplishes the more important 80 to 120 passing move in 4 seconds flat. Now the power is put to the pavement through a 6-speed manumatic transmission and all 4 wheels. The transmission, which features normal, sport and manual modes, is a refined unit that slips through the gears seamlessly, yet kicks down quickly when the throttle's hammered. Under normal circumstances, it would be considered complete foolishness to do a pylon test when you're on ice with packed snow on top of that. In the case of this S60, it handled things very well, and it did so for 2 very important reasons. First of all, it's wearing proper winter tyres. More importantly, this car has got a very good all-wheel drive system. It not only shuttles the power around front to rear, which gets the power to the wheels that can use it best, it also has torque vectoring. Now, as you go into a corner, it will apply the brakes to the inside wheels, which tricks the power to the outside wheels. That action, it turns the car into the corner. That means less steering input and much less likelihood of understeer. Now, even when I was horsing around out there, this car, even though it was out of control, it was in complete control. I could point it where I wanted it to go. It really did work exceptionally well in weather conditions like this. Technically, the R-Design's Haldex all-wheel drive system operates as a front driver, with 95% of the power being fed through the front wheels. However, the car launches with the power being split evenly front to rear. This not only eliminates the need for the front wheels to slip to initiate all-wheel drive, it does away with any sign of torque steer. This and the R-Design's firmer springs and damping, along with a 15mm drop in the ride height, brings a seriously balanced car. One of the neat features is the ability to tailor the assist level of the steering. The driver can select from 3 levels of steering effort: low, medium and high. I preferred the latter, which made the other 2 redundant. In the back of this S60, there's a ton of headroom, plenty of legroom and somewhere to put your feet underneath the front of the seat. They've also put in these quasi buckets, so if you sit here, wonderful. If you sit here, equally good. If you sit here, well, you're the unfortunate one. Now, if you're after a car that's technologically laden, this is the one for you. The S60's list of electronic helpers is longer than any of its peers when equipped with a driver support package. City Safety, which is standard, looks for low-speed impacts and can stop the car if the driver shows no signs of doing so. You'll also find blind spot monitoring and adaptive cruise control, both of which get thumbs up. The lane departure warning system? It's just plain annoying. Mention Volvo and most people think boring and boxy but safe. Well, this S60 T6 R-Design proves that Volvo are now making some seriously accomplished cars. This thing laid waste to the pylon test and handled these atrocious weather conditions in stride. It just goes to prove that you can have the safety cake and enjoy it too.
I got two beefs, rubberneckers and ride programs. I'm Howard Elmer and I'll tell you why at motoringtv.com.
It's a tire that gives the consumer tremendous advantages in terms of significantly shorter stopping distances, up to 31 feet shorter than the leading competitor. It gives 21,000 miles of additional wear, again, compared to our leading competitor. And what's really great about the Michelin Defender line is that this is a tire that you don't receive on new cars, but that you put on as a replacement fitment to basically renew your car. And the longer that consumers hold on to cars, the more important replacement tires become.
Nice to see a red car in the C-Class lineup. As you know, I've said many times before, what the world does not need is another silver or black automobile. As you know, with this company, it's either those colors or white. Mind you, Porsche has a hot yellow in their 911 lineup, but Porsche tells me nobody will buy it. Makes you wonder if Mercedes is running into the same resistance.
You know, we deliver the cars that our customers want, and you know, as much as we've taken Mercedes-Benz as a brand into new and exciting directions, we still have some traditional elements that our customers like to stick to, and our customers like their blacks, they like their silvers. We would love to see, you know, we have our exciting the Fire Opal Red. We have a lot of exciting new colors now for the coupe and the sedan, and we'd love to see more of them out there, and we expect to.
It's not so much cars in general, but so much as Mercedes specifically. I mean, let's face it. I mean, if you buy a Mercedes, you're saying you're conservative. You're not voting NDP and buying a Mercedes, okay? Orange isn't your color, big fella. I mean, you're straight down the line. So, and silver is the most conservative car color you can buy.
All right, here's Bill Gardner with his tip of the week.
Our motoring tip of the week concerns wheel tire shake. Whether it's a brand new car or a replacement set of tires, anytime a tire goes on a rim, it's going to be balanced. So that's a balanced wheel tire assembly. You can see these lead weights that are clipped onto the edge of the rim to facilitate the balancing of that wheel tire assembly. Now, that usually takes care of things. However, if your car's high mileage or a lot of years on it, a tire can start to come apart, fail. That can cause wheel tire shake. But here's a situation that can occur even on fairly new tires. Now, if you look at this winter tire, it's only been on for a few months, less than one season of wear on it. So we know this tire is not in distress or about to come apart. But the vehicle it was on was shaking like crazy. Now, you look at the outside of the wheel tire, you can see that it's a little bit dirty. gravel roads, etc. But when you look at the inside of the wheel tire assembly, you can see the reason for the wheel tire shake that we had on this vehicle. And that's a whole lot of mud and gravel and grit that's accumulated on the inside of this wheel. So all that mud that's accumulated inside the wheel with centrifugal force is really going to throw this wheel tire assembly out of balance. In the wintertime, when you have wet packing snow, the same situation can occur, but it's pretty easy to see the snow packed in the wheel. With this mud situation, it always occurs on the inside of the wheel, usually where you can't see it, and in many cases, because the windows are so small in here, you can't get in there to wash it out. You have to take the wheel off the car and wash that situation away. It might be the only automotive problem that you can actually wash away. That's your motoring tip of the week.
Recently, I had a chat with a Japanese auto executive who shared with me his concerns that in his country, he felt that many young people were more interested in electronic gadgets than they were in cars. And it's predicted around the world that close to 80 million people are nearing the age of 30, which is a prime car buying time, and many don't even have their driver's license. Well, needless to say, it has automakers concerned, including the world's largest.
Who really knows if it's possible to make young people fall in love with an automotive brand the way they do with their phone, their laptop, or their social network?
They're very much concerned about this generation of buyers. You know, they're very, very powerful. They want what they want, and I think the research they've asked us to do this time shows that they really want to supply people with the car they want, not just us telling them what they want. I think it's very important for Chevrolet to build on their current lineup they have. With these young, youthful cars, it's incredibly important. It's such a big market out there. We see a very big hole in that. We like to fill it.
I understand that they don't have the money to buy a car necessarily. They can buy an iPod, an iPhone, or anything, but you know, it's a couple $100. They can find money for that. But you're talking about an average around $25,000 for a vehicle.
I have two daughters, and it's quite interesting. They're young people that grew up in that generation, and you know, driving is not necessarily number 1, 2, or 3 on their priority list. You know, their connectivity allows them to achieve what they want to achieve in terms of the social side of their lives. And so we're seeing a number of trends emerge where some have everything and they're not necessarily looking for the automotive experience, and many of them not even getting their license. And then on the other side of it, the individual aspect that they command in terms of the things they own, the products they have.
On the other hand, you've got teenagers who, to them, a vehicle is not a freedom of mobility, not like it was to us. Their freedom of mobility is technology. So here you have car companies who are saying, we have a commodity that we want to sell. So we now have to incorporate their freedom of mobility into our commodity and try and sell it to them.
In a smaller contemporary package.
We did a lot of research from the students all around the country, working out what they would like in their car. So the big thing we found on the interior of the car, they wanted connectivity pretty much 24 hours a day, all the time. So they want to be connected to their Facebook, their Twitter accounts while they're in their car. They didn't want to feel remote, away from everything, even while they're driving.
On the other hand, you've got our government once again saying, we don't want you bringing that technology into the car. I think it's wise of the car companies. I just don't know how the government is going to say, yes, we can allow texting and everything else because you need to sell a car.
It's a pretty exciting group, and we're spending a lot of time getting to understand what they're all about, and we think Chevrolet is positioned extremely well to meet the needs of those consumers. So the two concepts are all about that. It's about taking the input and using it to generate something that's going to not just deliver, but overwhelm that customer group.
Closed captioning of Motoring 2012 is brought to you by
Greener, fuel efficient, global. This is Chevrolet Now, driving our world forward.
Our cars are increasingly going from being machines with computers in them to being computers with wheels on them. And this is no more true than inside the vehicle, the amount of technology that's constantly bombarding the driver with information is leading to a serious issue with driver distraction. I don't even know when the first car radio was put in the car, probably back in the 20s or 30s, but from that point on, it's got geometrically worse. We've got telephones, we've got email, we've got text messages, we've got web inputs, we got all sorts of stuff, sat nav, everything else, constantly getting in the way of the driver actually driving the car. Now, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, in the United States, has recently issued some voluntary guidelines to car manufacturers as to what they should and should not allow their vehicles to do. For example, you have to have the car in park before you enter a 10-digit phone number. Now, in a sense, NHTSA has already thrown up their hands and said, we can't stop people from being distracted. They're going to do this. And just as we've come to mostly adapt to listening to the radio in the car, we feel that eventually people are going to adapt to handling some of these other functions. Now, NHTSA believes that voice recognition is probably the best solution. Now, we've had voice recognition in cars for, 10, 15 years. The early systems were pretty awful. You had to be exactly precise in your syntax in order to get any kind of an answer. Now, more recent systems allow a more natural flow of language. For example, you can just say, I wonder what the weather is like in Vancouver, and the car will talk back to you. Don't you get enough talking back at home? Anyway, that's not the point. The thing is, at the bottom line, it comes down to you, the driver. The regulators can regulate, the manufacturers can manufacture, but if you find yourself driving, talking on your phone, hands-free or not, and you think to yourself, did I just go through a red light? Time to give your head a shake. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, all the buzz these days in the automotive world, of course, is about small cars, hybrids, electric, and so on. But what I love about my job is that every now and then I get to drive a good German sports coupe with rear-wheel drive, and that's exactly what the C-Class is. And also, I get to see how the other half lives. Well, Mercedes, as expected, has done a good job on this car. Now, if you're asking me how much room is in that rear seat, well, I'll answer with more than adequate. Although, if I'm buying a coupe, it's my way of telling the world it's only a two-seater. Now, I can't begin to tell you how much incredible technology they stuff into a car like this and other vehicles at this price level. The good news for you and me is that sooner or later, hopefully, a lot of this technology will trickle down into vehicles that you and I can afford. Before we go, make sure you check out motoringtv.com and join us on Facebook for the total motoring experience. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
By being at this track, by being at Laguna Seca, we're trying to show that Lexus really has reached this new level of performance and passion in the brand. We want people to feel that when they get into our cars, and this track really exemplifies that level of passion that drivers are going to feel when they try this vehicle.
Motoring 2012 on TSN has been brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward.